Howdy race fans, welcome to my little show about racing I like to call In the Pits with me, StockCar Scott. And as always, In the Pits is brought to you each week when I feel like it by Monte Carlo Express Delivery. Monte Carlo Express Delivery has been serving the Puget Sound area for over a decade. Please like us on Facebook. Racing started Friday, although there was a rock'em sock'em race from State Line Speedway in Post Falls, Idaho on NBCSN on Thursday night. It was won by James Bickford, Jeff Gordon's cousin, who was repeating from the win last year. Local favorite Nicole Behar had to show the guys that she really means business out there on a couple of occasions. Other Spokane drivers, Blake Williams and Braden Havens, did not fare as well. One guy, Chris Eagleston, cried at the end of the race like he had never ever been rear-ended, had his rear end pounded by a 17-year-old girl before. But it looked like a fun night over there at Post Falls, Idaho, while I was at Yakima. Now, I wish I could have gone, but of course we were busy. So back to Friday, NBCSN had practice and cup qualifying after bicycle racing in France. Carl Edwards in his number 19 JGR Toyota won the pole. I was able to see a little bit of qualifying while I was working when an afternoon job took me back to the clinic where I once had a regular route gig there. It was really nice to see my friends, so shout outs go out to Katie, Nikki, Ivan, Chip, Aaron, and a couple of people that I didn't see, Monica and Lauren and Trina. So it was good to stop by the clinic again. But anyway, people do wonderful work there. They may never see this, but what the heck, they're really good folks. But because I worked close in around North Seattle on Friday, I was able to beat the traffic and get home for the ARCA race at Iowa. It snuck up on me, though, because for some reason the race was not marked on my calendar. It was an entertaining race of 150 scheduled laps that became a victorious homecoming for young Mason Mitchell in his number 78 Chevrolet. He was given quite the spirited battle, though, by the number 99 of Austin Cindric, whose father is an executive with Penske Racing for a long time. So you know he was in good equipment. Both challenged for the win near the end and through a green-white checker. But, you know, like I said, Mason came out on top. My favorite, Grant Enfinger, finished in the top 10 and remains atop their points. The next ARCA race is this Friday at Lucas Indy Raceway Park, again on Fox Sports 1. Saturday was lots of racing without ever leaving the old rocking chair here. First up was on NBC, in fact everything was. They showed that Boffo race from Post Falls, and it was well worth watching again, folks. Then came the Xfinity race at New Hampshire. Denny Hamlin started on the pole with the Toad on his outside, and Hamlin came close to wrecking both of them. A dozen, 17 laps or so into the race. He got real tight and pushed right up into his teammate, putting the Toad, he himself and the Toad, way back on the ensuing restart, which did not make Kyle a happy Toad at all. Near the end of the race, Hamlin did the same thing to Austin Dillon in his number 33 Rheem Camaro, using the cheap shot to pass Dillon for the win. Austin gathered it back in to get back up and pass the Toad and Bad Brad, but could not get back to Denny's rear bumper there, or his side draft there, to repay the favor from earlier. Bad Brad finished in third. The Toad was fourth on Saturday's race there. And JGR Xfinity regular and teammate of those fellas, Daniel Suarez, was the highest finishing Xfinity driver in 5th. Ty Dillon was right behind him in 6th, and is still 3rd in points, even though he finished, next to highest there in for Xfinity drivers, because Chris Buescher finished 14th. He still leads the drivers' points, and he's still followed by the number 9 Chase Elliott, reigning champion, who finished 9th. Right behind my favorite Alabama Xfinity driver, Bubba Wallace. Next up for the Xfinity guys, Saturday at the Brickyard for 100 laps, 250 miles. Last year's winner was favorite of mine. He got his 1 win there last year, Ty Dillon. After Xfinity was the Indy race, also on NBCSN. IRL was the companion race for the ARCA's Friday night battle at the Iowa short track. Those ugly little Indy cars flip and fly around that 7/8 mile track in like 17-second laps, 18-second laps that they just fly on that little track. But anyway, Dancing with the Stars, Helio Castroneves was on the pole in a Chevy-powered car, but I missed the majority of the IRL race until I watched the replay on Monday, basically because my wife and I decided to walk down to the village for supper that evening. But I saw Ryan Hunter-Reay won his 3rd consecutive race at the Newton, Iowa short track there, where Sprint Cup really needs to get them a race there. That's a great little track. Joseph Newgarden was 2nd. Juan Pablo Montoya wrecked early. He was the first out, but he maintains his points lead there. And the next IRL race is at the Mid-Ohio Road Course coming up on August 2nd on NBCSN if you care to watch. Saturday night, I also had 5 other broadcasts of stock car races across America on Fans Choice TV, or fanschoice.tv, excuse me. One was at Langley Speedway in Virginia. Another was at Lake County Speedway in Ohio. Then Magic Valley Speedway in Idaho. Tucson Speedway in Arizona. And, of course, our own Evergreen Speedway up in Monroe. Langley Speedway only got in a couple of races. They're legends, and most of their super stock, street stock kind of cars there, and hopefully that counted as a complete race once the rain came. Those super stocks, as they call them, or super streets, it's my favorite division from on the East Coast track, where they run like old 1980s Monte Carlos and Grand Prix, Skylarks and Cutlasses. I really like those blunt front ends and those square tops, but the bottom fell out of a cloud bank and racing was scrubbed there at Langley by about 5:30 our time, 8:30 or so Eastern. Weather didn't affect the other 4 tracks though. I caught some late model qualifying there at Evergreen, along with qualifying at Magic Valley, where I saw the number 22 of Jonathan Gomez and the number 11 of John Dillon. They were P1 and P2 for a Carbonex Rocky Mountain Series late model race there. And Tucson I got to see some of their qualifying, where I saw Mariah McGriff, granddaughter, of West Coast Stock Car Hall of Fame member Herschel McGriff. She was racing Ford Fusion there at Tucson. Got to see her do her qualifying lap. And then back to Evergreen in time to see Trenton Moriarty win again over Scott Burby. And Travis Woodard was 3rd, the only podium position that seems to change this season for the Foster Press mini stocks there. But I tell you, Trenton, he's winning everything. At Magic Valley in the Carbonex Rocky Mountain Series Pepsi 100, pole sitter Jonathan Gomez, who I've seen him race at Evergreen. He blew an engine before a handful of laps went by. Coverage there at Idaho was nice, though, because even though they only had one camera, it's not static, and it had an operator that would cover the front runners there, so it was much easier to follow than, say, Evergreen with the three static cameras, or the Ohio track. They also have the static cameras. The top three at Magic Valley Speedway were the 84 of Trevor Christianani. He was first. The number 11 of John Dillon, who I've seen race somewhere before, I think maybe in Idaho, was second. And the number 92 of Bruce Quayle was third in a really sweet-looking race car he had. Nice paint job on it. Back at Evergreen, from what I could tell, number 3, Luke Selican, was the winner for a second time this season on the 3/8 track. Number 32, Facebook friend of mine, Mike Holden, and reigning champion, was second. And third place was the number 30 of Tyler Baker. This finishing order was confirmed by Kelly Herndon, and he gets a shout out for sending me that podium picture there of the top 3 for the night's feature out there at Evergreen. Okay, let me get a drink from my Sterling glass here. Wet the whistle and say, after watching the Evergreen race, a good friend of mine came over, watched the Sounders lose with me here in Race Central. So I missed the late models in Tucson, so I didn't get to see Herschel McGriff's granddaughter race, but I saw her race once at Evergreen and got a great Herschel McGriff story to tell y'all sometime that happened the same night. The track in Ohio, Lake County Speedway, it has the 2 static cameras, so it was kind of hard to follow. And the other racing, like at Magic Valley, it was better racing. Also, I wasn't able to follow the Montana 200 that happened this past Saturday night. I wasn't able to follow it in real time with all the distractions and everything, the other races and the MLS soccer there. But Trackside Now on Speed51.com showed us that Owen Riddle was the winner, and that old guy from Wenatchee, he was second. Jeremy Doss was third. The other Riddle was fourth. My favorite, 4-time Montana winner, Gary Lewis, was seventh, which I think was his starting position. 9 cars finished on the lead lap there, but I still read some folks disparaging remarks about the 200, alluding to a drop in the competition level over the years. I don't know about about that, but it seemed to me to have many of the Northwest best drivers there competing. After all, they aren't going to get Casey Kane, Greg Biffle, and Brian Scott, who is no relation to StockCar Scott, by the way. They're not going to get people like that to come because they're busy racing elsewhere. I've never been to Kalispell for a Montana 200, but I have attended a few of the K&N Pro West races there, and it is a really sweet track. So, on to Sunday. Sunday morning's race coverage was in hurry-up mode. NBCSN rushed the pre-race coverage, and because of the threatening evening weather that they weren't really telling us about. But the stormy sky held off until after the race, but this was basically because the race started right at 10:30 a.m. our time. I mean, usually that's when they're singing and praying, but 10:30, boom, they were going. And again, Loudon is not one of my favorite tracks, even though Junior is pretty consistent there when it comes to finishing there in the top 5. Cousin Carl started on the pole in his number 19 JGR Toyota, and the Joker was there beside him in the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Penske Ford. The Toad started 4th, and my favorite started further back at 12th for Happy and 19th for Junior. Neither had great difficulty moving up to run up in the top 5 despite those starting spots. I should have been happy with Harvick finishing 3rd and Earnhardt coming in from a late unscheduled pit stop to finish 5th. But as you know by now, the Toad won, and I am never happy about that, folks. Folks say he's talented driver who wins. You should like him. Well, he's not my driver. He drives a devil car. What's to like about him? I mean, he wins, but that means he takes wins away from other drivers, you know. Oh, you drive a Camry, a devil car? Oh, my condolences. But look on your hood. That's the sign of the devil. Anyway, I still eat M&Ms and Snickers, so I'm only mildly conflicted. But M&M and Snickers have been in the sport a lot longer than the Toad, and they'll probably be here after him. And, you know, I think they probably would taste a little bit better, though, if they were on somebody else's car, like back when they were on Elliott Sadler's car or Kenny Schrader. Bad Brad finished 2nd in his number 2 Miller Lite Penske Ford, and his teammate Joker Logano filled out the top 5 in 4th place. Points don't matter, but if they did, Harvick would lead and Junior would be 3rd, but wins count. So Johnson is 1st with 4 wins, and Harvick, Junior, and Kurt Busch have 2 wins. The Toad has taken away another chance for some more deserving driver maybe to get in the chase, and unfortunately even I have to admit the Toad has a real shot to reach the top 30 in points. And now with 3 wins that look like they could help get him in, like it or not, folks. But any wins that he gets before the chase starts, just remember, because he's going to be so far down in points, the wins will get him into the chase, but I don't think they'll be able to count them for the seeding purposes because he's not up in the top 10 or 16 or something like that. But we'll see when we get there. Up next for Sprint Cup is the Brickyard 400. That would be a great place for Jeff Gordon to get a final Cup win and get in the chase. He won there last time NASCAR was there. He won there the first time NASCAR was there. He's won there 3 times in between. It would be as poetic or Hollywood as the King's last win at Daytona or Earnhardt Sr.'s last win at Talladega. But I would rather see Junior get his first win at the Brickyard myself, because Harvick's already got a win there. Oh, but you know, I'll be watching the Brickyard there after a quick power nap after the Grand Prix of Hungary. Yes, it is Grand Prix time again, with one of champion Lewis Hamilton's favorite tracks. So I expect the Mercedes Steamroller to continue. And that early morning of F1 racing will probably be preceded by a late night of attending a double 50-lap main at, let's see, those are going to be super late models at South Sound Speedway. Many teams around the area, like Molly Helmuth Racing, will be using these twin mains as a tune-up night for the big Miller 200 coming up next month there at the 3/8 mile track there at South Sound. So, should I go to see racing this weekend? It's probably going to be at South Sound. Mainly because Evergreen is drifting, and y'all know that's just not my scene. And Yakima doesn't have any racing this weekend. So, but of course, The reason I'm here a little bit early, it was supposed to be a day early, but I just didn't get it done in time because NASCAR racing is on dirt this evening, Wednesday evening, at Eldora with the Camping World Truck Series in the 3rd annual Mud Summer Classic there at Tony Stewart's Dirt Track. So be sure to watch the main race on Fox Sports 1, even though most of us, meaning me, won't be able to see the heat races because they're being shown on that dang Phantom Sports 2 that I don't have. But as I said on the last show, the Mud Summer Classic holds a very special memories for me. So you know I'll be watching because I'm StockCar Scott and this is In the Pits. And I thank you very much for watching again this week. So until next time, go to a race, take a friend, watch some racing. That's what I do because I'm StockCar Scott. Thank you very much, folks. Okay, folks. Good night.